All right, as usual, I need to make sure that this thing is actually working. I do this every single time I do a live stream. I never know if it's working. And then I sit there and I have moments like this where I need to make sure because I'm not very good at this whole YouTube thing yet. So I hopefully will be able to make sure in 1 second that we are actually live. And then we can kick off the top 5 best and worst movies from 2022. So let me just hop in the studio here, make sure that everything is live. If it is, give me 1 second. I connect everything through StreamYard, and then because of that, StreamYard isn't really great with comments in regards to YouTube, so I can't actually see if anybody's on here yet. Let me go live on Studio, make sure that we are good. Channel, why isn't that working? Let's go to video control room. Bear with me here, folks. Bear with me. One of these days, I'm actually going to decide to figure this out and sit down with somebody that knows what the hell they're doing. But yeah, hey, look, if you can hear me, let me know in the comment section. That would help. And if you can't hear me, then well, it sucks for me. But first of all, thank you for joining today. Tonight, I know everyone's busy with life and everything everybody's got going on. So the way this is going to work, and I'm going to mention this a few times, is I am going to list the top 5 best and worst movies that I personally saw in regards to 2022. So I started this back in 2015, where every single year I just got sick of the award shows. I got sick of the Oscars, the Golden Globes. There are movies out there, and there's some on this list that are just made to win awards, and I couldn't stand them. So I would sit there and I think to myself, all right, well, what's the best movie that you saw this past year? And I could never come up with an answer. I'd throw a haphazard answer out there, and it usually was recency bias. And so I started listing and following the movies that I watched through a calendar year, whether they were a new movie or not. If they were new to me, I wrote them down on a list. Sorry, I'm socialing this out. The top 5 best and worst movies from 2022. So started in 2015, and I think I had like 80 movies that year, 80 something, and then 2016 I got a little more. But that way I could tell you, at least if you ask what was the best movie you saw this year, I could quickly go to my list, and I wrote them down after the year, and I was able to actually give you an answer to it, and not just a haphazard recency bias BS. So if you want to know what movies I saw this past year, all you have to do is just go to the comment section, not the comment, the description of this video, and I listed the movies. I saw 100 movies. The order of them doesn't matter at all. It's just the order that I saw the movie in. As soon as I see a movie, right on the list, move on to the next one. So the order does not matter one bit of the movies, but if you're looking to see what movies I watched in 2022, then just go to the description of this video and you'll see all 100 of them, so you kind of get an idea of what we have to work with. And once again, some of these movies came out last year, came out the year before. Some of these came out 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But if they were new to me and I've never seen it for the first time, then I wrote them down. And by the way, if anyone's watching, you can just give me a quick, like, my mic is working fine, just heads up. That would be a big help. So yeah, I saw 100 movies. I got to the 100th one on December 31st. I was flying back from Disneyland and watched 2 movies on a plane. And the last one I finished with, neither of them, actually one of them kind of made a list. But last one I saw was 3,000 Years of Longing with Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. Good movie. I enjoyed it. Didn't make either list, though. But we will start out with the Honorable mention for the best movies of 2022 that I watched. So you're looking at in no particular order, and here's a movie that actually, when we talk about a movie that didn't come out this past year, it's Mitchell's versus the Machines. Okay, so this was an animated movie, and I loved it. I really, really enjoyed Mitchell's versus the Machines. It was fun. It has, I think Nick Offerman is one of the leads. He plays the dad. It's an animated movie. It's great for kids, but it's also one of those movies that's animated, and it's really good for adults too. I don't even know if I watched it with my 4-year-old. My 4-year-old had seen it, but I decided to sit there one night. And sometimes I'm just in the mood for a kid's movie. So sat down, watched it, was really, really impressed with it. It doesn't seem like it's good to get a sequel, so it's a one and done. But Mitchell's vs. the Machines, if you're looking for a movie, and I believe it's on Netflix, I think Netflix bought the rights to it. But if you're looking for a movie that you can quickly watch with the family, and it's just a good animated movie, Mitchell's vs. the Machines is absolutely your go-to. And then once again, if anyone's watching, you can just quickly write in the chat, hey, your mic's working. That'd be great. Because if not, then I've just been talking to myself for the past 6 minutes. Next movie, Mitchell's vs. the Machines is a big movie because it's on Netflix, easily accessible. The next movie is Boiling Point. This movie is not accessible at all. So Boiling Point, I actually had to go to a bootleg website to watch it. But it was a movie that I've actually seen pop up a few times on Facebook. And now that I say that, it'll pop up even more on Facebook because Facebook's always listening. But this was a really, really well done movie about a chef that is going through the pressures of being a top level chef, opening up his own restaurant, dealing with the pressures of that, and one particular night, just one night of dealing with crap that chefs deal with. It was really, really good. It doesn't have any A-list celebrities in it. The guy that is the lead in it, which I will look if this website could ever load, is Stephen Graham. And you'd recognize him, but he's not a typical leading man. You'd recognize him as a bit actor. Thank you, Donald, for confirming that you actually can hear me. Boiling Point is a really good movie because of the way it's shot. It's shot 1917 style, one take. But it's also a really good story, and it delves into the pitfalls of the pressure of the food industry. I always find food movies fascinating. Chef, I thought was a really good movie. I even like that Bradley Cooper movie a couple years ago. That's a guilty pleasure. It's not a great movie, but it's a guilty pleasure. But if it has to do with working in a kitchen, like the show The Bear on FX, my kind of flick. Or show. So Boiling Point. If you get a chance to watch this on, I don't even know where you can find it because it was a really low budget movie from 2021 that was an indie flick. But if you have a chance to watch this, and IMDb is so slow because they give me an ad for Will Tennant, which no one's going to watch, and that thing will be canceled in probably 6 episodes. But usually IMDb gives you the opportunity to show where you can watch it. It just says watch on Prime Video for $2.99, so you'd have to rent it. But yeah, Boiling Point, really, really good movie. The second movie is Hustle. Third movie, Hustle, with Adam Sandler. I am biased. I will show you right now how biased I am because I'm wearing a Sixers sweatshirt. I'm a Sixers season ticket holder. And I was an extra in the movie, but I was caught. Can't see me. But all that biasness aside, and I'm a sucker for sports movies. Like I will watch the worst sports movie in the world. I thought Hustle was just a genuinely good movie. I like The Air Up There, the old Kevin Bacon movie from the 90s, and I like The Scout, the old Brendan Fraser movie from the 90s. Felt like this movie combined both of them with a little bit of Adam Sandler humor. Adam Sandler's a really good actor. He gets crapped on because of the fact that he's Adam Sandler at times, but when he goes into a serious role, Adam Sandler's good. And Hustle was a movie for me that I really, really enjoyed. And it's not just because of the Philadelphia angle. It's not just because I'm a Sixers season ticket holder, but just all that aside, because Joel Embiid wasn't even in the movie, thought it was just a really, really good movie. And if you're a sports fan, Hustle is it. Another kids movie that made the honorable mention list, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. If you are like me, I am 33 years old, okay? This movie's for you. It's to distract your kids, but it's really for you. It's a movie on Disney Plus right now, and it is tremendous. The humor in it is for adults. Kids will be entertained by it, but I'm telling you, if you're in your 30s, high 20s, you are going to love this movie. And they poke fun at so much. They do so much well in making this movie that it would have made a top 10 list for me. But because I'm only doing top 5, it makes an honorable mention list. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, if you're just looking to get entertained, you don't have to have a kid to be entertained with this movie, because you will find so much joy with the callbacks to everything from my childhood, pop culture. It's great. It even touches on the Sonic with the real teeth. Really, really well done movie with Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. The next movie is Elvis. I'm not an Elvis music fan. I mean, I respect what the guy did for music, but Baz Luhrmann, I like his movies. I mean, he only makes one every couple years. It seems like he makes one as many movies as James Cameron seems to make. But it wasn't like I was dying for an Elvis biopic, and it was also touching on 3 hours long. And I'll tell you, like the amount of time of a movie, the runtime, doesn't bother me if the story moves. And I did feel like the story moved along quite a bit. There was a lot in this movie that I just did not know. I do think that Tom Hanks and the casting of Tom Hanks was horrible. Like, it just looked like Tom Hanks in a fat suit. Nothing against Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks. I just felt like they should have gotten somebody else, because it was distracting. You're watching it, you're going, okay, this is nothing more than Tom Hanks in a fat suit. But Austin Butler, the kid who played Elvis, was so good in it. And it's a really, really interesting look at just how people can get manipulated by a snake in the grass. And it's 3 hours long, and they probably could have cut it down a little bit. If you're an Elvis fan, you've already seen it. You probably love it. But if you're not an Elvis fan, you can get enjoyment from this by just watching the movie. You don't have to love his music. The next one, Lightyear. I don't know if you can see, but no, other way. I'm sorry. My backpack was Buzz Lightyear backpack. There was no way I was not going to enjoy this movie. There just wasn't. It got crapped on completely by critics and people that were just outraged that it wasn't Tim Allen. And they failed to understand that Lightyear wasn't based off the Buzz Lightyear that I grew up with back in 1996 that I was first introduced to. It's based on the movie that Andy went to go see that spawned all the Buzz Lightyear toys. That's so the whole Chris Evans taking over thing. It got panned. I really liked it. The characters in it, just everything about it, I was a fan. But with that said, I'm going into it very biased. Okay, I had my Buzz Lightyear backpack, and I enjoyed. I'm wearing a Pizza Planet shirt on the way in. It was going to be really tough for me not to enjoy this. Take this with a grain of salt. I liked Lightyear. I took my then 3-year-old. That was the first movie he went to go see. He liked it as well. I just thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a really good Pixar movie, but it got crapped on because it didn't make all this money that Pixar is used to. The next movie is, and this is another movie that got crapped on, but I'm in the minority. I loved it. Thor: Love and Thunder. So if you notice on my list of movies, and you can find it in the description once again if you're just joining, but if you notice on my list of movies that I saw in 2022, you will see an asterisk, and then you'll see an asterisk plus. That's just for when I'm curious. Asterisk means I saw it in theaters. Asterisk plus means that I didn't pay for it, because I'm lucky enough where I work in the media and I get to see movies early. And it's one of the reasons why I'll be able to get movie reviews up before a movie comes out. It's because I see these screenings. So a lot of times when you go to screenings, people are looking to enjoy the movie. No one's going into a free movie, especially a Marvel movie, looking to be miserable. And it's much like people going to a comedy show. Like, some of these comedians could get up, like Dave Chappelle could get up and say I had a ham sandwich, and people are cracking up because they're just happy to be there. They're happy to be in the presence of Dave Chappelle. They can't wait to laugh. Same thing happens a lot of times with big time budget movies like Thor: Love and Thunder. So when I saw it, all the jokes hit. I wasn't the only one laughing, but most of the people in the theater were laughing. The goats, Korg, all of it. We all enjoyed it. And then a buddy of mine went to go see it on a Friday and said, hey man, I was in the theater, none of these jokes hit. And it is different when you're paying for the movie. So my Love and Thunder experience might be different from other people's, but I enjoyed this. The only problem I had with it, and I'll say it now because I hinted at it when I did a review for it, and it's really nitpicky of me, but in the movie he basically uses child soldiers, and I just felt like that was kind of bad taste. But that's like nitpicky as hell. I was kind of like, that's a little cringeworthy of it. But I felt like Christian Bale was great in it. He was a really good Marvel villain. I felt for his character. I thought Taika Waititi hit the ball out of the park, and I'm the only one that sees it that way because everybody else thought that this movie was dog shit. Another one that for honorable mentions, and we have 4 more here for honorable mentions, and then we'll get to the top 5. This movie was so good. Weird. The Al Yankovic story. This movie you can see on Roku. It's a Roku original. Roku bought the rights to it, and it stars Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al Yankovic. I'm telling you, if you love the movie Walk Hard, The Legend of Dewey Cox, you will absolutely love Weird, the Al Yankovic story, because it is a 2022 version of Walk Hard with Dewey Cox. It is so well done. It is hilarious. It is a biopic, but not at all. It's revisionist history. It's straight up lies. It is hysterical. It gets itself. It knows what it is, and it is so well done. I'm telling you, if you want to check out a really, really funny movie, and I'm in the opinion that comedy is pretty much dead in cancel culture today, Weird, the Al Yankovic story is worth going out and getting a Roku and buying it, or trying to find a stream for it or something. But it's really well done. And Radcliffe did a really good job with Weird. Another movie Marvel movie, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. People were split on this. Person I went with thought it sucked. I loved it. I thought they handled the death of Chadwick Boseman really, really well. She thought it was lazy, and they mailed it in. But I thought it was a really, really good movie. Not necessarily about superheroes and blowing up and Marvel and special effects and all that crap. I thought it was just a good movie on how to handle the grieving process, and not just for, through a lot of angles, through a community, through a sister, through a mother, through, friends. So I thought it was more about the grieving process, and the story itself was kind of ancillary to the side. I loved it. As I said, the person I went hated it. So people were kind of split on it. And if anyone has any opinions on any of these movies, by the way, just live chat's open. So throw them out there. And be nice, because nasty comments make me feel bad. The next movie I saw was one of the last movies I saw in 2022, and I waited on this one for various reasons. The Two Popes. Now, this movie came out a couple of years ago. It was nominated, at least it was, I believe it was nominated for an Oscar. And I know that the guy who played Jonathan Pryce was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor in it. But it came out in 2019, so I'm a little late to this party. And once again, if you're just joining, this movie list is based off of if I've never seen the movie before, not necessarily had to come out in 2022. If I've never seen it, it goes on the list. I found it really interesting, though. It was basically about Pope Benny the 14th, him campaigning to become Pope, then him realizing, I'm not very good at this, I probably should bow out. And then Pope Frank wanting to retire and then getting pressured by Pope Benny to be like, yo, you probably should stick around because I'm bowing out. And their relationship and how they were complete opposites of the spectrum. They were two completely different people. And I thought it was really well done. I had a falling out with the church myself. I don't really want to get into that, but that's one of the reasons why I stayed away from this movie for 3 years. But I was on a plane and I decided, you know what, it's probably time to check this out. Heard a lot of good things, and it was really, really interesting. And it's also interesting just to see how they come up with a new pope. I mean, it's like this whole ceremony. I liked it. And then the last movie on the honorable mention list is The Menu. So I try to do this with a lot of my movies that I go see at theaters. I try to go in with a clear head, with no opinion whatsoever. And that includes avoiding trailers and just basically going on the name and the movie poster. And the Menu was one I actively avoided. And one of the reasons why I did that was because the cast, I thought, man, this movie is stacked. And I didn't even read a description of it. All I knew about this movie was it was the menu and it had all these actors in it. So I had no idea what to expect. It was so well done and shocking at times. If you don't know what's going on, I mean, there's a moment in the end of the first act that was like a holy shit moment in this movie. It was really well done. It probably would have made my top 10 list. It doesn't make, my top 5, but the menu is absolutely worth checking out. The storyline itself, everything about it, the acting was superb. It's hard to describe it to anything. I don't know what I would describe it as, but the menu was really, really well done and definitely worth checking out. So that is my honorable mention list. Once again, if you're just joining us, Mitchell's versus the Machines. No, we're not doing the porn stuff. Stop. We got to put a hide user on this channel. Yeah. I mean, come on. There's like 25 people max watching this thing, and you're popping up with fill life with emotions and find love. Like, I appreciate it, but let's just remove that comment and then remove this comment. This happens quite a bit, actually, believe it or not. And then report the person. Report, and there we go. Okay, we'll move on. Honorable mention list if you're just joining us: Mitchell's versus the Machines, Boiling Point, Hustle, Top Gun Maverick, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Elvis, Lightyear, Thor, Love and Thunder, Weird, The Al Yankovic Story, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, The Menu, and The Two Popes. Those are my honorable mention list. All right, let's get to the top 5 best movies of 2022. We'll start out with a movie right now that you can see on Netflix. It is the most fun movie of 2022. It was so much fun that I went twice. Very similar to The Menu. I knew nothing about it. I knew the cast. I knew the name. That is it. I avoided all trailers for this one, so I went in with a clear head, full heart, can't lose. Clear eyes, full heart, can't lose. And I was blown away by it. And that movie would be Bullet Train. Bullet Train was so good. And if you've seen it on Netflix or you saw it in theaters, you know what I'm talking about. This movie got panned by critics. I don't know why. Like, I question critics as to why they didn't like this movie. They love an action movie like Mad Max Fury Road. They don't like this one. This one had everything you want. It had comedy. It had action, really good action. It had an incredible storyline. Like, the storyline was really, really compelling. And the movie moved. I don't get what the hell critics want from this. And it's one of the reasons why this movie was, I saw it in Rotten Tomatoes, was one of the top movies of, like, critics hated it, but audiences loved it. And yeah, I go into a lot of these screenings with critics, and they are miserable people. And this is a prime example of that. They don't know how to have fun. This movie was the definition of fun. It was an absolute blast. I'm telling you, if you've not seen Bullet Train, go out and see it. It is the story of an assassin who is put on a job on a train. And real quick, Rowdy, yes, I'm going to cover Last of Us. I actually started watching it a couple days ago, so I'm 3 episodes in. I can't do a review of it until January 10th, I think, if the embargo's up. Hopefully I'll be done with it at that point. I will cover The Last of Us. Do not worry. I already started it. I'm on that. I started The Last of Us. I started Servant Season 4, which if you need a Season 3, 2, or 1 recap, have that on the channel. And then I just started doing The Recruit. And eventually I'll get to finishing Pennyworth. I started it, stopped it. But to answer your question, Rowdy, yes, The Last of Us is coming. But Bullet Train is the story of an assassin who is put on a train, doesn't really just told to steal a case, and there's so much more to it. There's another 2 assassins on the train. There's a girl involved. I mean, the way that they intertwine all of it, including the action, but the humor as well. This movie was directed by David Leitch, I believe you say his name. He is the guy who made all of the John Wick movies. And this is a former stuntman turned director. And it's one of the reasons why David Leitch's movies are so good in the action realm and they're so realistic is because he used to do it. So you don't have the James Bond where we're fighting for 4 straight minutes and we're not tired at all. You have situations more realistic where these guys are gassed within a minute or two and they just want to take a break, and it makes a really good, enjoyable movie-going experience because it's just more realistic. I saw it with John Wick and I saw it with Bullet Train. So definitely, I can't suggest this enough. It's the most fun movie, in my opinion, of 2022, the one that I saw at least, and that is Bullet Train. All right. The next movie, number 4 on my best movies of 2022 list, is out in theaters right now. It did not do well. I mean, it bombed, and I understand why. It is 3 hours long, and it sat with me. Like, this movie sat with me to the point where I immediately wanted to go, and I exited the theater. I had one, okay, it was pretty good. I liked it, and then the more that time went on, I was like, I need to see this movie again. And that would be Babylon. Babylon is so good. It is made by Damien Chazelle, and unfortunately for him, the marketing of it was absolutely terrible. I believe I say this in my 60-second review for it. A more fitting title for this would have been Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because it really is about once upon a time in Hollywood, this stuff happened. I mean, it's set from 1926 to 1933, and it goes through the kind of the golden age of cinema, where you're going from silent films to talkies and the dynamic of that. I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the movie is kind of about Hollywood-ish, but this movie really would have been more fitting for that title. Unfortunately, having Brad Pitt in this movie and having Margot Robbie, people thought that it was just a knockoff of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's not at all. I mean, the movies couldn't be any farther from each other. They're completely different. Sorry, talking to yourself, you get thirsty. Look, this movie starts out, and in the first 10 minutes, you're going to be sitting there going, what the hell am I watching? Because it starts out with like a full-blown orgy in the 1920s, like the roaring 20s, and boy, was this orgy roaring. But I understand why this movie did so badly in the theaters, because it wasn't marketed correctly. People thought they were getting the same movie, just reverted, and it's 3 hours long, and Avatar's out. And if you're going to go see a 3-hour movie, you're probably more likely to go see Avatar than Babylon. But what I'll say about this is this movie moved really, really well. And one of the reasons why is because it covers 4 different people, and at times it covers 5 different people, and what they're doing and how they're maneuvering the business of Hollywood. The one guy just wants to be in the industry. He just doesn't care how he gets there. He just wants to be in the film industry at any cost. Margot Robbie's character wants to be an actress at any cost. Then you've got a musician in there, and then you've got Brad Pitt's character, who is an aging star. It moves, and for 3 hours, the pace is great. Also, the soundtrack is nothing but bangers. It's made by Damien Chazelle, and he obviously did the movie La La Land, which was a really good movie, but with a really good soundtrack. This is no different. I believe he used the same people, so that'd be Justin Horowitz. I think I might be saying his name wrong, but I mean, you'll be walking out of this movie like humming the soundtrack to it, which has no words. It's just jazz music, but it should be nominated for an Oscar. And I'm talking the soundtrack. I think the movie will be nominated because, I mean, the Oscars love movies made about Hollywood, and this movie is made about Hollywood. But a better comparison of it than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood would be probably La La Land, his other one. I mean, because La La Land was about 2 people trying to break into an industry, but that was set in the mid-2000s. This movie is about 4 people, and it's set in the 1920s. But it's a really, really good movie, and I can't suggest it enough. So Babylon, if you're looking to get out in the theaters, if you have 3 hours to kill, which a lot of people don't, definitely go check out Babylon. And once again, if there's any questions, throw them out there. As I said, like Rowdy asked about The Last of Us, so I'll answer what you got. Number 3 on this movie is another movie that you can go see in theaters right now. It has been talked about a lot. It got a standing ovation at Cannes. It is the Brendan Fraser comeback, The Whale. Now, just like with The Menu, and just like with Bullet Train, and just like with Babylon, I went into it completely blank. Had no expectations of this whatsoever. Didn't know what to expect. All I knew about this movie was it's Brendan Fraser's comeback. It's called The Whale. That is it. And the first 5 minutes were like a little jarring. Wasn't what I expected. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But this movie was incredible because it hits on a lot of emotions. And one of the reasons why this movie was so good is because of Brendan Fraser's character. It's not necessarily just his acting, but the character itself and how not miserable this guy is in a situation where his character could be completely depressed, sad, miserable, and you'd be like, yeah, I get it. Like, I completely understand where you're coming from. And he's not. He's got this sunny disposition about life, and it's a connection about him and his daughter. And I know a lot of people that have since I've seen the movie have gone out and watched The Whale and have cried at this movie. I, for whatever reason, don't cry at movies, but I completely understand why you would, because it really hits the emotional heartstrings, and his performance is great. I do want to give a credit shout out, and I believe I said this in my 60-second review for it, which a lot of these movies, if they came out in 2022, they got a 60-second review, so you can go check it out on my channel if you really want to. Just let the ads run because I have bills to pay. But I do want to give a shout out to where was her? Hong Chow, I believe her name is, and she was nominated for an Oscar back in, I want to say, 2017 and it wasn't a very good movie, but it was for Downsizing, that Matt Damon movie, and she was great in Downsizing. She was tremendous. She's equally as good in this The Whale, and I think her performance is going to get overshadowed by Brendan Fraser and his comeback tour. But both Brendan Fraser and Chow deserve to be nominated for Oscars. They're tremendous in this. Sadie Sink is really good in it. The only problem is she plays Max Mayfield. Like, she plays Max Mayfield in 2022. It's I feel like she's getting typecast, and she's very good in that role. But I mean, you're watching it going, okay, if Max Mayfield was not quirky on Netflix and all that, I mean, the teen angst is flowing out of this girl, but she's really good in it. So The Whale is out in theaters right now. It's not a fun movie. It's not going to make you laugh, but it will hit you emotionally for sure. Go check The Whale out. Number 2. So when I walked out of this screening, there's always people from the marketing company that want your opinion on the movie, just like a quick blurb they can write down. They can give back to the studios and whatnot to get a feel for how critics are feeling on it. And I walked up to the marketing company person, and they said, "Oh, hey, Pat, what'd you think of the movie?" And I said, "That is a fucking masterpiece." And then I just left. Like, that's all that needed to be said. And this movie is 3 hours long, and it is the Batman. I am not a Batman fan. I'm not a Batman fanboy at all. I'm not a DC guy. This movie was so good. I couldn't believe it. The way that it was shot right from Jump Street, it was like Matt Reeves, director-wise, hit this out of the park, because it was just unique camera angles, the pacing of it, the grittiness of it, the darkness. I thought Robert Pattinson did a great job in this movie. He got a little blowback when he originally got cast for it, but look, at 2 hours and 56 movie, 2 hours and 56 minutes, a lot of people saw the runtime of the Batman and were like, "Oh shit, like, I don't want to watch that." And I'm telling you right now, this movie was amazing. And I know a lot of people have seen it already at this point, and it's on HBO Max. But if you have not gotten an opportunity to check out the Batman, you need to, because it is a masterpiece. I think it should be nominated. Like, I really do. It won't, but I think it should, because I think it was that good. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Matt Reeves does coming up in regards to this franchise, because he's got me, a non-Batman fan, into the idea of a Robert Pattinson led story. So definitely check out the Batman if you have not. Let me just retweet this real quick. See if we can get anybody else in here. All right, and my number 1 movie of 2022, bar none. I saw it early in 2022, and it stuck with me. It still sticks with me today. And another movie where I didn't know anything about it, and this is the movie I regret not going to see the screening of it, but I was happy to pay for it, was Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. You want to talk about a unique movie that hit every single emotional feeling you will have. It's this movie. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is a goddamn masterpiece that, if it's not nominated, it's a prime example of why I hate the Oscars. The storyline itself was incredible, incredibly unique. I mean, you talk about we're obsessed in this culture with the multiverse and all that. Well, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I mean, they do that, and they do it to perfection. But also the emotional angle of it with the families and the acting of it. It's hard to describe. It really is hard to describe this movie. It's one of those movies where I was just telling people, just go watch it. I can't do a description of this movie justice, but every time in 2022, when I was asked, hey, what's your favorite movie so far this year? It always came back to Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And I cannot suggest it enough. It will make you laugh. It probably will make you cry. It will make you uncomfortable at times. I like everything. And it is so well done. So once again, if you're just joining us, my top 5 movies of 2022 are Bullet Train number 5, which you can see on Netflix, Babylon, which is in theaters right now, The Whale, which is in theaters right now, The Batman, which is on HBO Max, and Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is available on Showtime right now. And if you are just joining us, which thank you for watching, by the way, and supporting the channel, if you're looking for the movies that we were referencing, it is all the movies I saw in the year 2022, which is 100 movies. They're all listed in the description of this live chat. So just go there. You'll see what we're working with, and you'll be able to discern, why did he not include this movie? It might be because I just didn't see it. The numbering is just simply the order I saw them in. But honorable mentions and best for the good of 2022, honorable mentions: Mitchells vs. the Machines, Boiling Point, Hustle, Top Gun Maverick, which probably would have been 6 or 7 on my list, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Elvis, Lightyear, Thor: Love and Thunder, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, The Menu, and The Two Popes. And then my best movies are Bullet Train number 5, Babylon number 4, The Whale number 3, The Batman number 2, and Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. All right, let's get to what I'm always interested in, the bad. What are the worst movies that I saw in 2022? When you see 100 movies, you're going to see some shit in there. You're just going to see some movies that make me want to go, oh my God, what? Even I probably need to take a step back and reconsider free time and what I'm doing here. Some of these movies, I had a feeling they were bad going in and stuck with it, and they sucked. Some of these movies were critical darlings that I just don't get, and some of these movies are just old but shitty. So we'll start out with the honorable mention list. And once again, if you have any questions, by all means, hit it up in the chat. But honorable mention: Morbius. Oh my God, horrible. And honestly, coming up with the top 5 worst is really, really difficult. It's more difficult for me to come up with a top 5 worst than a top 5 best. Top 5 best is easy. Top 5 worst, I could put most of these in. Morbius might be number 6 on my list. It is so incredibly bad. From the acting to the storyline to the graphics to everything about it, it is a complete dog shit movie. I understand why it was backed up. It probably never should have been made. I hope they do not go down a rabbit hole with this character. It is just flat out bad. And I don't say that a lot about Marvel-led franchise. I know it was Sony, but like a Marvel movie, even a Sony movie, I don't really say this a lot, like where I put them into the bad category. I mean, like Venom hasn't been great, but I don't necessarily think it was like the worst movie or one of the worst movies I saw the year I saw it. Morbius was terrible, where even I'm sitting there in the theater going, this is dog shit. So do not see Morbius. You can completely skip that. my suggestion to people is just go watch the end credit scene online, and you'll be good, because it was really, really bad. The next movie I watched, knew nothing about it, just went on Hulu one day and saw an advertisement for this Zac Efron movie, and I thought, hey, Zac Efron's dreamy. Okay, all right. Liked him in The Greatest Showman. I liked him in Neighbors. I liked him in some things. So let's check this movie out. Gold. Hulu, more like Pewter. It's really bad. It's a horrible movie on Hulu that you never should watch. It's a 2022 movie, and it's just flat out a snooze fest. It's boring as shit. Maybe I should have been warned off by the Hulu or by the IMDb rating of 5.4. Didn't check that at the time. The description is, in a not too distant future, a drifter traveling through the desert discovers the largest gold nugget ever found. He must guard it from thieves and harsh conditions and wild dogs while waiting for his partner to return. Horrible. I mean, it's basically a one-man movie with Zac Efron, but it's not even him. It's literally just the storyline. Sometimes with these movies, it's the acting, and no. Like Gold, it's just a dog shit movie. Number 3, this was a critical darling that got rave reviews, and I do not understand it. And it's not like I have a vendetta against this guy, because there are some directors out there that are really, really popular, and I don't like their movies. But this guy, doesn't fit that criteria. I love his movies. I was excited to go see this movie. I knew nothing about this movie going in. I'd avoided trailers at all costs. I wanted to go in with the most open mind I could. I succeeded in that. So I knew nothing about it going in. My opinion of it wasn't jaded. I didn't have expectations other than to see a really good movie. I didn't get that. Nope. If you watch my review of Nope, I say, should you see it? Nope. It's right in the movie, the name of it. I said that. I remember saying this in my 2-second review for it. This happens to every great, unique horror director. And the closest guy I can think of with this category would be M. Night Shyamalan, right? So M. Night Shyamalan comes out the gate. He gives you The Sixth Sense. He follows it up with Unbreakable, I believe, was his next movie. Then he gives you Signs. I mean, that's like banger. And then he follows it up with The Village, and it was terrible. And eventually these unique minds have trouble. Hello, I will be with you in a moment. It's my coworker. Yeah, no, I'm doing a live chat. So yeah, coworker's walking around. And then he texted me and said, "Hey, did you leave yet?" And I said, "No, I didn't." So just want to let him know. Shout out to Devon Gibbons. But some of these directors, when they're coming up with unique storylines, eventually they just hit a wall. They hit a creative wall where the movie just isn't that good. And I think Nope was it for Jordan Peele. His first 2 movies were incredible. And his first 2 movies both made my best list of that year. So I went into this looking forward to it, and what I got was a bedsheet as a, quote, alien living being thing. Now, the chimp thing was great. I love that part of it. And if they went more into that storyline, I would have been into it. But Nope might be the most overrated movie I could think of. It's one of them, at least in 2022. And I just thought it was lame. I thought it was a lame-ass movie. And I was completely disappointed. And when I walked out of the theater, actually, a lot of people were agreeing with me, but I just thought this movie sucked. And then to come out and see all these critics raving about it, I was like, okay, so you just don't want to be the guy to say it, right? Like The Emperor Has No Clothes. You're scared to be the critic that says a Jordan Peele movie wasn't good because this came out of the gate. This guy came out of the gate so strong. I thought this movie sucked. So Nope. Yeah, Nope on that one. Another movie that I will include on the list is Concrete Cowboys. And this is a Netflix movie from a couple years ago. I meant to watch it, forgot about it, came back to it, and was super disappointed. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you might know, like, I'm from Philadelphia. Like, I live here. So a movie about Philadelphia, a true story, hey, I'm into that. Wasn't good. I mean, Idris Elba, I really like his movies. And then the kid who plays Lucas in Stranger Things, who in Stranger Things, I think Caleb McLaughlin, which is his name, I think in Stranger Things he's terrible, but I think in this movie he was actually pretty good. But the storyline just sucked. I just wasn't interested in it, and I thought it was boring. So Concrete Cowboys, you probably won't watch it anyway because Netflix is no longer really pushing it. But I was bored out of my mind with it. Another movie I was bored with out of my mind with, and Netflix has this out right now, and I don't want to say they're pushing it, but they kind of are because Gerard Butler has a movie coming out. But it's a Gerard Butler movie called The Vanishing, and it's based on a true story. One way that you can rope me into a movie is by telling me based on a true story. Like immediately, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I gotta find out what happened in this. That's cool. This movie just sucked. Like it just wasn't very good. It was about these three guys that go to a lighthouse, find something, and then people come after them, and it just hard pass, skip it. I watched it on a plane, and it was rough, but we got through it by myself. Black Bear, I really struggled putting Black Bear on this list. You can see it on Amazon Prime. It stars Aubrey Plaza. She's getting a lot of love right now for The White Lotus and for Emily the Criminal, which recently hit Netflix, and everybody's raving about that movie. I think Obama put it on his top 5 list. But Black Bear was, I believe she directed it. And I'm an Aubrey Plaza fan. Like, I mean, I have a crush on her, first of all. April Ludgate is an all-time crush for me. But I think she's a really good, like, all that aside, all the looks aside, because what up, girl, if you're watching, hit me up. All the looks aside, like, I think she's a really good actress. And this movie's from 2020, and she did not direct it. But I think it was, like, her first, like, semi-serious role, and it goes into 2 different stories. All of a sudden, they kind of meet in the middle. I just wasn't all that wowed by it, and I kind of left. I wanted to like it, and I left saying that's not a really good movie. The next movie, and this is an old movie, but it's a Wes Anderson movie, The Royal Tenenbaums. Wes Anderson's very hit or miss for me. Like The Grand Budapest Hotel, I thought is tremendous. I like Moonlight Kingdom, but The Royal Tenenbaums, who I'd always heard about, which is one of his like legendary movies from the late 90s. I watched that for the first time this year, and I thought that was bad. I was completely bored with that movie. And I think it's just one of the problems with Wes Anderson movies, which is if it doesn't hit you, you're going to be really, really, really disappointed. Wes Anderson, sorry, man. Got to put that on the list. So once again, if you're looking for the honorable mentions of the worst movies of 2022 that I watched, Morbius, Gold, Nope, which, I mean, just missed the top 5, Black Bear, Concrete Cowboy, The Vanishing, and The Royal Tenenbaums. And now we will kick off the top 5 worst movies of 2022. All right, we will start out with a movie that it came out, I think, 13 years ago. I believe it came out 13 years ago. But I just watched it for the first time this year. I had no interest in watching it 13 years ago, and I watched it because the sequel came out. You can already guess probably what it is. It is the first Avatar, The Last Airbender. I put this number 5 on my list because I went in expecting to not like this movie, but it exceeded my expectations in how much I would dislike this movie. James Cameron just made Pocahontas, and he made Dances with the Wolves, and I knew that going in. This isn't shocking to me, and I'm not breaking news to you if you've seen it. I also realized that 13 years later, the visual effects probably don't hit you the same while watching it on my TV at home as they did back in 2000, whatever it was, 8, 9, whenever the movie originally came out, while watching it in IMAX. But for me, what it boils down to for James Cameron movies, and this is the same with like a Peter Jackson flick, is it can only, the visuals and the scenery and the effects only go so far with me. Eventually, I need a compelling storyline. And Avatar, The Last Airbender just did not have it for me. I was completely bored out of my mind for 2 hours and 42 minutes. Thought the movie absolutely sucked. And I eventually mustered the courage, I'll use that word, to go see the 3-hour and 13-minute sequel to it. And while I'll say that that movie did not make my best or worst list, and it was better than the first one, I did go see an IMAX 3D. Visually, it is stunning. But what I came to the conclusion of is that James Cameron is nothing more than critic-proof Michael Bay. Michael Bay wows audiences with explosions and action scenes, and he gets ripped for it because critics go, oh, he's just Mr. Explosion guy. And James Cameron does it by just going, oh, look at the fancy camera that I shot this thing on. and both of their storylines usually suck. I'll actually say Michael Bay's movies, I'm actually more entertained watching a lot of those than I am James Cameron movies. But when James Cameron only makes one movie every 13 years, it's looked at as revolutionary. But I'd argue that I haven't liked a James Cameron movie in quite some time. I think most of his movies are 3 hours long and snooze fests. Yeah, okay, the visuals are great. I'm wowed by it. Woo, woo, woo. Give me a damn storyline. And the fact that it took 13 years to come up with The Way of the Water, and that's the best thing you came up with, like that was it, 13 years? I'm sorry, like you completely lose me on that. So while the 2022 sequel does not make my list, the first one does. Avatar does not hold up. I probably would have disliked it in 2009 when it originally came out. Sorry, James Cameron. I'm not fooled by your visuals. Visually, look, it's great. But I mean, basically what you've got is a Ferrari with like no engine. Like, what's the point of it? It looks great, but it doesn't run. And that's what I got with The Last Airbender. Once again, if you guys have any comments, questions, just feel free to throw them up in the chat. If you're looking for the list that we're going off of, it's in the description of the chat. It's just the movies that I saw in 2022. I know I keep repeating that, but new people are popping in and leaving and whatnot. When they see my face, they're like, I don't want to watch that guy. Trust me, I get it. The next movie for the worst movie in 2022 that I watched, High Rise. Okay, so this movie I watched on Hulu, and I knew nothing about it, but it looked interesting enough where I was like, oh, okay, let me check this out. 2015 movie. It starred Tom Hiddleston. It starred Jeremy Irons. I was into it. I was like, let's go. This might be a sleeper hit with me, where I didn't hear anyone talking about it in 2015. I didn't hear anyone talking about it in 2016, 2017, but I discovered this movie, and every once in a while you stumble upon just a hidden gem, and I thought maybe High Rise could be it. Boy, did it fucking suck. Holy shit, was it bad. It made absolutely no sense. I don't understand how anyone read this script and went like, yeah, I want to do this movie. I think less of Tom Hiddleston for doing this movie. I think less of Jeremy Irons for doing this movie. I think less of everybody for doing this movie, except like the low people that just needed a paycheck. But it's basically set in this like alternative world, and it's an apartment complex, and things it's horrible. It's hard to describe the plot of it, and yet you're watching it going, at least for me, I'm watching it waiting for it to make sense. And eventually you hit a point where you go like, it just doesn't. At no point does it ever really make sense. It doesn't hit. Maybe there's somebody out there smarter than me that understands what the hell this movie was about. But High Rise missed the boat for me. I wasn't. I was both bored, confused, and then pissed off at the end because they didn't describe anything. Can you do The Last Kingdom and This Is Us and Outlander? I've heard of Outlander. This Is Us. Is that ABC show on let me chuck it in IMDb. Yeah. So here's the problem with doing like a show like This Is Us, and I'll include Outlander in it too a little bit, is if I'm doing it, I'd have to start from season 1, and that's just going to take so much time, especially considering This Is Us has, I think, 4 or 5 seasons at this point. Every one of my single individual recap videos takes about 3 hours to make. And if you're looking at This Is Us, which has probably close to 40 episodes, that's a lot of hours for a show that they have 100 episodes, even worse. That's a lot of hours for me for a show of like, a lot of it I feel like would just be a waste of my time. Like a season 1 recap, a season 2 recap, a season 3 recap for a show that old. Maybe people are watching it, but unfortunately I'm in a bad stretch right now where the shows I've recapped recently, I have just been like catching L's left and right. So yeah. Then we got how he says Avatar: The Last Airbender is the M. Night movie. Yeah, my bad. No, I completely messed up. Yeah, I don't know why I did say. Yeah, and by the way, Avatar: The Last Airbender and Avatar, whatever the hell that movie is called, the James Cameron one, I think they both sucked. So just include them both in there. But yeah, Avatar, you were correct. My bad. Look, when you're talking to yourself for like 40 straight minutes, you're going to just mess up sometimes, and this is a prime example of that. But I appreciate you calling me out on it and let me know that, hey, you messed up the bad movies. Wasn't joking. Probably in retrospect should have played off like I was, but I thought they both were bad. My little cousin is cancer, watches you all day, and I want those shows. I will pay you for those things. I'm not gonna take your money. I so sorry about your cousin. I will consider it. So Goldie's World, I will tell you right now that I am swamped with just my day job, like my actual job. But then also I just started The Last of Us, which is coming out in a couple weeks. I started Servant season 4, and I just started The Recruit, and then eventually I'm going to get back to Pennyworth. I did the first 3 episodes and then tailed off on it. So I will consider it. It has nothing to do with like the money angle of it. I do it. It's literally just about like how much time I personally have in my life, because I do have a day job, and then this is like a side hustle, and then I have like outside interests, like, you know, my wife and my kid and stuff. So if I do not get to them, do not take offense to it. It's just a matter of like time. I'm not unfortunately Mr. Beast, or I have the ability to just like do YouTube all day. And if I did, I would do those. I'd have no problem with it. But yeah, it's just about time. But I will attempt to find if I can do Outlander. I've never heard of the other one. I've never heard of The Last Kingdom, so that might interest me. But I will look into it. But yeah, it's a matter of hours in the day. I recently did a video, and I'm probably gonna upload it on my YouTube stream, of like a normal day for me in my life, and it kind of gives you an idea of what a normal everyday, what I kind of, not necessarily, I don't want to use the word go through, but just the of making content, you know, of working a day job, making a content, and then having life. So but I will look into it. All right, number 3, and by the way, keep questions, comments coming. By all means, might veer off. But number 3 on the worst movies of 2022, and once again, if you're looking for the list, I keep repeating this, but just because no people come in. If you're looking for the list, it's in the description. It's just new movies that I saw in 2022. There's going to be old movies on here, but if I saw it for the first time in 2022, it gets added to the list. This movie was made as a joke, and it wasn't funny at all. I wanted to like this movie. I like everybody in it. I get what they were going through, but under no circumstances should anybody out there ever waste your time or your money by watching Studio 666, the Foo Fighters movie. I like the Foo Fighters. I mean, they're not like my favorite band in the world, but I like them. Everlong always will stay on my rotation. And I love Dave Grohl. Like, Dave Grohl's like The Rock, where you're never going to hear, or Keanu Reeves, like you're never going to hear a bad story about Dave Grohl. And unfortunately, everything that happened to Taylor and all that. With all of that said, this movie is absolute dog shit and looks like it was made by a first-year USC film student. And I kind of knew that going in. While I hadn't watched the trailer for it, I kind of knew going in that this movie wasn't going to be great, but it's just another movie that was worse. It was like High Rise. It was worse than I could have imagined. It's just not funny, and they attempt it. The effects are bad. The storyline's bad. There's nothing positive I can say about Studio 666 other than you might hear a Foo Fighters song. But other than that, complete dog shit. And I hope they made money on it. Like, I hope they con some people into watching this and paying for it. I know like Foo Fighters Nation's huge, and they'll definitely watch it, but oh my God. Whew, what a piece of shit. Number 2, this movie was a January movie. And what I mean by that is, well, first of all, it came out in January, and most January movies suck. Movie companies wait till January and February to put out the movies that they know aren't going to be very good. There's not a lot of competition. That's why like the number 1 movie in America will make like $25 million in January. It's really not until Valentine's Day where you start seeing a decent movie come out, and in March it really starts to pick up a little bit. But January movies routinely suck. Like, I'm going to see Plane with Gerard Butler on Monday, and I'm not expecting that to be good because it's a January movie. This looked interesting, at least. And I actually emailed the marketing company about, hey, do you guys have a screener for this coming up? Because I thought it looked like it could possibly be good, even though it was coming out in January. and it had a decent cast with people, like name recognition actors. And I'm trying to stall so I can find the budget for this movie, because it was a large budget. But this movie cost $150 million. Okay, it stars Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson, John Bradley, who played the guy from Game of Thrones, and I'm all of a sudden forgetting Tarly. It had a lot. Michael Pena was in it. Like this movie had some actors, and they're all actors that I go, what the hell were you thinking when you signed on to do Moonfall? Moonfall was laughably bad. The acting, the storyline, everything about this movie was so bad you just had to laugh at it. And that was a movie where I talked about the Batman earlier. You walk out of these screenings, the marketing company asks you what you think. I started audibly laughing, going, holy God, what a piece of shit that was. I can't believe that somebody sat in a studio and greenlit a movie where the moon is hollowed out and it is on a collision course to Earth because it was knocked off its orbit and we got to stop. I mean, this is like, who in the blue hell greenlit Moonfall? Because whoever it is at Lionsgate needs to immediately lose their job. And this is the problem, is this is why you keep getting sequels of movies that no one wants, or reboots of movies that nobody wants, or remakes of movies that nobody wants. Because when you have a movie company go out there and spend $150 million on Moonfall, they go, well, we can't make an original movie. No, you picked the wrong original movie to make. That's dog shit. This never should have been made. Horrible. This is a black cloud on all of these actors' careers. I don't think it's getting a sequel, even though they set it up for one. But yeah, do not see Moonfall. Think it's on HBO Max, and I can't suggest skipping it enough. And then finally, the number one movie, the worst movie of the year that I watched. And I have different reasons for my movies, as you kind of laid out there with the top five, like Avatar. Didn't expect it to be good, but that's why it was number 5 on the list. I went in thinking that it was going to be bad. High Rise, was just confused with it. Studio 666, expected to be bad, but was worse than I could have imagined. This movie just pissed me off. I went to go see a screening of this movie, and I laid this out on my Instagram page that no one should follow. And the screening didn't work. It's the first time I've ever gone to a movie screening where it's time to start the movie, and the projector broke. And we could hear the audio. Like, I could hear Nicole Kidman telling me that happiness feels good in a place like this. I could not hear Nicole Kidman tell me that heartbreak feels good in a place like this. Or I couldn't see Nicole Kidman. I botched that whole thing. I couldn't see Nicole Kidman. I could hear her. So you could hear the audio. You couldn't see it. They stopped it. But we got about 6 minutes into the movie before they actually stopped it because no one could see anything on the screen. That should have been my cue to walk out and never come back, because this movie starts out with a song in Mandarin that is painful to listen to, and it is the movie Tar. It is getting rave reviews by critics. It is a critical darling. It is made for critics. It is critical porn. I mean, that is a example of this. And let me check the Rotten Tomatoes score on this. This is this year's Power of the Dog for me, where like this movie was just made to be nominated for an Oscar. It is made to get the actors Oscars, and it is not made for you and me, the moviegoer out there who just wants this crazy us. We just want to be entertained. It is a 90% on the tomato meter for critics. 90% of critics walked out of this movie and were just amazed. Now, audience score is 72%. I don't buy into audience score anymore after what I saw happen to Power of the Dog. That movie was at, I want to say that movie was at like 30%, and then 2 weeks later, that movie was at 80%. I went, oh, okay, Netflix bumped that up a little bit. There's my tinfoil hat for movies. But Tar, well, that should have been my cue, was to walk out and when the song started playing in Mandarin. It was so incredibly bad. It was boring. The pacing sucked. It was choppy. The storyline wasn't very good. And scorching hot take for you, Kate Blanchett, I thought was bad in it. I thought she was doing a bad NPR impression. But you know what? This movie will be nominated. Kate Blanchett will be nominated. It is getting rave reviews. And I walked out of that and told the person from the marketing company, I don't think there was a redeeming quality in it. I spoke too soon. The ending I actually enjoyed. I enjoyed the ending of it. But the lead up to that movie, I mean, we're talking the 2 hours and 30 minutes before I got an ending was horrible. So Tar by far, and I put this on the list because it gets bumped up there. If no one was talking about Tar, it probably wouldn't have been number one. But the fact that it is this critical darling, and the fact that I walk out knowing full well, yeah, this movie was just made to win awards, and it will. When it's not entertaining. The whole reason why we go to the movies is to be entertained. You know, I want an escape from my life, so I'm going to sit there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and I want to be entertained. Like Russell Crowe style. Are you not entertained? Well, no, for Tar, I was not. And it has nothing to do with a 2 hour and 30-minute, runtime, because my best movies were The Batman, which is 3 hours. That was one of them. Babylon, which is 3 hours plus. So Tar was so bad. And I'm just telling you, you are going to be bored out of your mind. But hey, if you went to film school, if you went to NYU film school, you'll probably love it. You'll probably go, he just doesn't understand it. You know what? You're right. And I don't want to understand it. I pride myself on not being one of these miserable critics. I don't get wowed by an acting performance. I need a storyline, as I talked about earlier. Tar did not have that. I thought it was just boring. I thought it was choppy, stiff, and there's no redeeming quality other than a quick ending that I did think, okay, that was kind of cool. Other than that, the movie was dog shit. So once again, worst movies of the year. If you're just tuning in, these are the movies that I suggest just staying away from completely. At number 5, we had Avatar. I'm not talking the new Avatar, which I did see, but just the old one. I saw it for the first time in 2022, and it was dog shit. High Rise, Tom Hiddleston, Jeremy Irons, 2015 movie. You can see it on Hulu, but I don't suggest it because it was confusing. It didn't make sense, and it will be a waste of your life. Studio 666, God bless them, they tried, but the Foo Fighters movie was really, really bad. It just was just cheesy, and it looked like a low-budget horror movie, and it was that, but it was horrible. Moonfall, HBO Max right now. It will make you wish to God that the moon actually crashed into your home while you're watching it to put you out of your misery. It was that bad. The acting, the storyline, everything about it, there's no redeeming qualities. It is complete trash. And then Tar as my number one movie, which is a critical darling. It's right up there with my number one movie last year, Power of the Dog. I walked out of that saying that movie was a complete piece of shit, and it got rave reviews. So there you go. In total, all the movies I think you should stay away from: Morbius, Gold, Nope, Jordan Peele movie. Yep, Nope to that one. Black Bear, Concrete Cowboys, The Vanishing, The World Tenenbaums, Avatar, High Rise, Studio 666, Moonfall, and Tar. If anyone has any questions, feel free. Before I wrap this thing up, I'm probably going to make 2 separate videos laying out my best and worst, basically just what I did here, but not in the live form. A little bit more professional, add some graphics and whatnot. I'll have my graphics guy do some work on it and make it look a little bit better. So look out for those. But as always, just let the ads run because I do have bills to pay. I appreciate everybody tuning in and checking it out. And once again, if you have comments, I'll wait a little bit for the stream to catch up. But write them in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to answer on what I got coming up. If you have any suggestions, we've had a couple from Goldie's World. She suggested a few shows that I can check out and recap. I'm always looking for stuff. As I said earlier, I've had a bad stretch right now of just shows that I don't know if just people aren't digging me anymore, or just the shows themselves. People don't care, but I just did 1899, and then of course a week later it got canceled. So, which was a weird show, and I didn't watch Dark, which was this group's first show on Netflix, but that show people love it. But 1899 caught my interest, and I didn't know where it was going, and the ending was kind of weak. But I was a little bit surprised that it did get canceled as quickly as it did. But hey, the recap's up there if you want it. I did Dead to Me, and the and that show's actually really good. It's on Netflix. It's only 3 seasons, and it just recently wrapped up. But I have the full series recap up on Netflix if you're looking to get in on that. But it's a quick show. I mean, it's 30-minute episodes. You can breeze right through it. Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini are really, really good in it. And it's just a good kind of mindless show that I think is needed in this time because there aren't enough really good 30-minute shows. It seems like everything's an hour nowadays. So, but I recently did that, and that didn't really hit. So I'm just kind of on a cold streak right now, but I do have a lot coming up. I'm looking to get, as I talked about, I started The Last of Us and the recap. We'll do that weekly as HBO does their episodes. But the review of that, a spoiler-free review, should be up hopefully January 10th. That's the earliest I can put it up. But January 10th is the embargo date, and then I can put out my thoughts on it. When I do put out a review of The Last of Us, it'll be spoiler-free, don't worry. But I started that. I'm 3 episodes in. And then I just started, as I talked about a little bit earlier, but if you're new, if you're not, I apologize if you're new. This will be new for you. I just started Servant Season 4. I have recaps for all the seasons of Servant on my channel. So if you need a recap for it, check it out. If you haven't ever watched Servant, then check out the recaps. You'll be all caught up. It's an Apple Plus show. M. Night Shyamalan, really, really good show. I know M. Night Shyamalan stuff is very polarizing because it's hit or miss, and it's even hit or miss for me, like a Philly guy. You know, I mean, me and M. Night Shyamalan are like the same person. Like we're both 6-year season ticket holders. We both like movies, so we're basically the same guy. But like even for me, as big of an M. Night Shyamalan fan as I am, his stuff is hit or miss. Like Old was terrible, and that made last year's list for worst movies. But this show is really, really good, and it's gonna be the last season. It's on Apple Plus, so and that's a show with 30-minute episodes. You can breeze through it, but by all means, check out the recaps. Or as I suggest to people, even if you don't need it, what you could do is just turn it on and click mute and just let the ads run. That would help too. And then I started The Recruit, the Noah Centineo show on Netflix. Like it, but I'm only 1 episode in. And I was hoping to catch episode 2 tonight, but I don't think I'm going to be able to because I have a hockey game at 10:30. So I got to leave for that coming up. But I like it. I will try to get those recaps up as quickly as possible. And then I just put in to get Outer Banks, which comes back in February. And I have the recap for season 2. But Pogue Life, we return to the shore or the bay or whatever you want to call it in February. And then You. So You season 4 part 1 is going to be hitting Netflix in February. I just put in for that as well. And I have recaps for that. So check all that out, and if you get a chance, like we have 9 people here at 69mega.com. Like, what are you doing? I'm sure there's got to be a more popular stream going on right now, and you're just hitting me with all this porn stuff. It sucks. But I do have a lot coming down on the pike. I know that for 2 weeks I was completely dormant. I had just taken a break. I've been doing recaps for, 2 straight years really steadily, and this was kind of the first time I was able to just kind of take some time and unfortunately I wasn't able to get anything up, which is the first time. Like I've been able to go on vacation before, but normally I have stuff set up to go out on the channel, and this was really the first time where the channel was dormant for a long period of time. It was, I think, 2 weeks. The last thing I got up was Babylon before I got up the Recruit video. So I just took a vacation from work and life and went to Disneyland, and that was cool. My kid was a little bit of a jerk, but we're picking it back up in 2023. So if you like something and it helped you out or you enjoyed it, just consider sharing it on your social media platforms, because if you needed a recap, somebody else might need it, or movie review or whatever I put out. If you liked it, then it would help if you shared it. If not, hey, I'm never going to know if you don't share this stuff. Get to some of the comments, and once again, if you're one of the 4 people that are watching, just throw stuff out there. How about The Last of Us? It's starting January 15th. I covered that. Ha ho he. I will be doing that. I 3 episodes in, and can't tell you what I think of it, but started it. Very excited for that because I enjoyed the video game. The first one, I finished it, loved it. In the middle of the second one, but once again, as I talked about a little bit earlier, like the time that I have to play video games, I don't really have a lot. If I wasn't doing YouTube, I probably would have more, but unfortunately, my life is kind of I work nights and then I work mornings, and I basically have the daytime to kind of catch up on sleep. It's rough. I've been subscribed for a while and have not gotten a notification for you in months. YouTube must be playing again. Oh, that sucks. So I will. Who said what? Said that. So I personally will never tell you to hit the bell icon because of the fact that I put videos up pretty regularly, which not recently. I get that, but for the most part, I try to put up like 5 videos a week, which is Monday through Friday. Whether it be a recap, whether it be a 60-second review, or whether it be a combined recap of like a season 1 or 2. I try not to have the channel be dormant. And if you don't like that, I'm not going to beg you. First of all, I hate the YouTubers, which is 99% of them, that start every video off with, "Hey guys, if you're new to the channel, just hit that subscribe button and hit the bell notification because we put out fire videos every day." Like, that's just, look, you all know where that is. You all know where the bell icon is. You know where the subscribe button is. If you want to subscribe, great. And if you want to hit the bell icon, great. I'm not going to beg you for it. I always envision my channel as, hey, I really like this television show, and I forget what happened. Oh, yeah, there was that guy that does recaps of videos. Maybe he has a recap of this video. I don't know what the hell's going on. Who said what? I mean, I don't know why YouTube wouldn't let you know if you did hit the bell icon. I do appreciate it. I am pretty good about putting up posts of like, hey, hey, I have a live stream going on, or hey, there's this movie coming out that's pretty popular, and I did a review for it, and it comes out in a couple days. I'm pretty good about that. I don't know what YouTube's doing. I will tell you, my numbers were down. Like, full transparency, my numbers have been down since August. Like, I mean, it was going pretty good, and then like nosedive. I mean, it was Hindenburg style. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it was just the algorithm, or maybe just like people got tired of listening to my voice, which I completely get because my family's told me that many times. Like, Pat, just shut up. Nobody wants to hear you. I enjoy videos. I hope you can keep it going. Yeah, no, I mean, I will. I'll keep going. Eventually, I think every YouTuber hopes that your side hustle becomes your main hustle. So hopefully that will take over. But once again, thanks everybody for checking this out, for supporting the channel, all that good stuff. I'm going to be putting out 2 separate videos of this, and I'll be doing it not in an empty office with an empty bookshelf and a backpack in the background. I'll try to make it a little more professional, but when you see it pop up, they're coming for the people that missed it, which there's about 6 billion people in the world. So it was like, I would say it was about 6,7,999,930 missed this live stream. So I'll put out a video for all those people, the 6 billion plus that missed this live stream, so that they know what to watch and what to avoid in 2022. Thank you once again for checking this out. I do really appreciate all the support, all the love that I get. And I will talk to you guys next time I do a live stream, which hopefully, I mean, I haven't done one in a while, so hopefully I'll be doing one coming up. I wanted to do one for House of the Dragon, and unfortunately what happened with that was just scheduling, timing. I didn't get it. So, but I might look to do one for one of the shows coming up, whether it be Last of Us, whether it be Servant. And with those, when I do a live stream about that, I like to have somebody with me, so it's just not me babbling on to myself. But I might do it for The Last of Us because that's a weekly show, and those are the only shows that I'll do a live stream for. It's the ones that drop every week. So that would be like Apple shows and HBO Max shows and whatnot. So, but once again, I got a lot of stuff up on the channel that you might need a recap for, like Yellow Jackets, which hits Showtime in May. Servant season 4 comes out in I think a week or 2, and I have recaps for that. And then you've got You coming out in February, along with Outer Banks. So all that stuff, it's all recapped on the channel. If you get a chance to check it out, great. If not, I'm never gonna know. But thank you, and have a good night.